This is the OFN Today on the Our Lads Football Network. Yes, we are back talking Detroit Lions football. That's actually what we did on our last show on Friday, but that's okay. We're not here to talk 1 hour of Detroit Lions football, but we're here to talk about a very important deal for the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford is traded. He is gone. It's something that we talked about, Jeff, just a few days ago. Not sure we thought it would only take a few days, but it has. And Matthew Stafford is an official LA Ram. And I'm sure the Rams fans are pretty happy about that. But this is a Detroit Lions show. So
That's right.
We don't really have a huge draft pick in this year's draft to talk about. So what we have immediately to talk about is Jared Goff. But before we get into all of that, including the compensation and so forth, let's just talk about the finality of Matthew Stafford no longer with the Lions and how it feels.
Yeah, it's going to be weird to watch a Lions game and not have number 9 trot out there under center. It's going to take some getting used to. He's been there. He was there for 12 years. Other than the injury that he had at the end of the 2019 season, he was every game from 2011 on. So it's been the Matthew Stafford show, and he set every franchise passing record you could think of. Granted, the competition isn't all that stiff. They've not had good quarterbacks, but he's the best quarterback in franchise history, and it's tough to watch that walk out the door. But at the same time, we talked about it on Friday a little bit. It's something that I think that with a change in regime, with the change in the coach, it's something that I think was good to sort of flush out the system and really, truly start anew. I think that's what Brad Holmes, the new GM, what Dan Campbell, the new head coach, what Sheila Ford Hamp, the new owner, basically wanted. It's a tough decision. It wasn't necessarily a popular decision at first, although I think people are warming up to it now. But it's a shocker for sure.
All right, well, let's talk about that compensation then, because initially I would have to think that, well, wait a second. We didn't get a first-round draft pick in this year's draft? What's that about? I could be dead next year. But you did get Jared Goff. So
Yeah.
that is so it's early, but how does that feel? Tell me the positives and negatives about knowing that Jared Goff is more than likely going to be the number 1 starter when the season begins in 2021.
Yeah, I firmly believe he will be the starting quarterback for all of 2021. I think just Brad Holmes, the new GM, helped draft him with the Rams, where he's the director of collegiate scouting. He clearly valued Jared Goff a lot, and he wanted him in this trade. And so far, from what we've heard from Dan Campbell and the new offensive coordinator Anthony Lynn, the former Chargers coach, they were on board with it. They're like, let's see what Goff can do for us. He was a very good quarterback in 2017 and 2018. Some of that was the fact that he had a better supporting cast than he did in 2019 and 2020 with the Rams. But this is a guy. He made the Pro Bowl 2 years in a row, topped 4,600 yards passing 2 years in a row. I know that you don't want to get caught up in the numbers on it, but that's pretty impressive. He was a guy who could win games, but he's limited. He is not as good as Matthew Stafford. I don't want to make any dispersions about that. He's not as talented. If you get him the right cast, and he can do some things. He's not mobile. That's a big drawback, but he's a capable NFL starting quarterback, and a lot of the worry in trading Matthew Stafford was that they would not have that. The backups last year were Chase Daniel and David Blau. Neither one of those guys belongs in the NFL, in my opinion. So that's already you're doing better than what we were expecting the total ground zero. Goff is he's ready to start right away, and I think that buys them time if they don't like a quarterback when it comes to the number 7 pick, which is where they sit, or they don't want to make a move. They're not that enamored with a guy like Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance or somebody like that. they don't have to force it this year. And I think that option is a very good thing for them. It gives them a little bit more flexibility. It gives them time to build up a roster around. Remember, this is a team that does not have a wide receiver other than Quintez Cephas under contract.
Sure.
So they've got some building to do around a quarterback. They're going to go about it in sort of the way that the Cleveland Browns did, in building up the team with guys like Myles Garrett, Jarvis Landry before Baker Mayfield got there. I think that seems to be the strategy that they're going with here. The offensive line is fine. The running game is fine with DeAndre Swift. So you have some things, but there's a lot more to build around the team. And I think having a rookie come in and not have to do everything for a team right away, I think we've all seen that's probably the better way to go. Not to have your quarterback come in with on a team with ball tires. You want to have some tread there that they can work with.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's not like the team already has 11 or 12 draft picks, $70 million in $70 million in cap space.
Right.
You are limited. The Lions are limited in what they could do to protect a young quarterback if they went that route, which now it does look like they will not go that route. It's still possible. First, let me ask you this. Do you think that you personally and the fans, so give me both answers, on whether or not you prefer Jared, this package or a package where you would have received a first-round pick this year to target one of these quarterbacks in this year's draft?
I like this better, and I'll tell you why, because you got the 2 first-round picks in the future. And this is a very strange year for the draft. We had a limited college football season. One of the top prospects played 1 game at the FCS level.
Yeah.
You're not getting there's no combine this year. The pro days for schools that will be allowed to have them are going to be limited. There's a lot less information to build your database upon than any other time I can ever recall as in the scouting world. So you're loading up in future assets at a time where things will hopefully be a little bit more normal, and you'll have better information on players. You'll have more of a book on these guys to go with. I think that's smart. I also think that if there's a player that they really like and you call and you say, I'll give you number 7 and a first-round pick next year, let's say you make that call to the New York Jets, they're certainly going to listen to it. I don't know if they'll take it or not, but that they have the flexibility to get up to where they want if they choose to go after a quarterback this year.
Yes.
And I like having that, but the first-round pick this year, if they were getting that and they didn't have Goff in the deal, if they didn't have a ready-made starter, they were going to have to get a quarterback somewhere. And I think that would have been, you know how it is when you don't have a quarterback with your organization. It sucks all the oxygen out of everything else. Nothing else matters until you get the quarterback. Is Jared Goff the long-term quarterback in Detroit? Who knows? He might be. They're going to give him a shot. They're going to give him a shot to be that. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not, but it's worth a shot.
How about the fans? What are the fans so far?
So the fans,
are they different from what you from?
A little bit. I think the fans were sold on getting a first-round pick this year.
Yes.
But there's a wide variety of opinions on the fans. There are still some fans who won't accept that Stafford is traded. They did not believe that it was going to happen until it actually hit them in the face. And there are a few who are still like, well, it's not official until March 17th. They can back out. Sorry, folks, he's gone. What can I say? I think in general, the fact that they got 2 first-round picks and that they did get a third-round pick this year, I think that's Goff. And they got Goff.
I thought it was a great package because we were talking the other day about a first-round pick and, all right, maybe the third. That's what we're talking about. Now they got Goff, a third, and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, now there are some salary cap drawbacks to having Jared Goff.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's probably where you have to go next because that does change the dynamic. It does make those draft picks a little bit more valuable because you don't have as much money to play with in free agency anymore, and that's one of the drawbacks to Goff. And so there are people that also, I'll preemptively answer this. that want to flip Jared Goff right away. I don't see that happening.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Indianapolis Colts are going to give you a first-round pick for Jared Goff if they weren't going to give you a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford.
No.
And that seems to be the only team that was in play for that. So
doesn't make any
we'll just
sense.
shoot that down.
I mean, Brad Holmes didn't trade for Jared Goff to trade him, and that's just
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so cap situation. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So is it now the same, or is it worse?
It is worse now. They are absorbing. So they got a $14 million credit for Matthew Stafford. They're eating $19 million in dead cap, but $14 million in salary comes off. So that's not a huge wash. But adding Goff in puts them in the wrong side of the salary cap. Okay. They are now about $10 million over the $175 million salary cap floor. And we don't know what the salary cap is going to be at. It could be 175. It could be 185. Okay. They haven't set that yet. If it's the worst case scenario and it's 175, they're over the cap. And that's a bit of a problem because they have some free agents that they do want to bring back. And it will require some trimming around the edges. Now, they have some guys who obviously can get trimmed without issue or renegotiated. A guy like Chase Daniel, they're not paying Chase Daniel $6.5 million to be their backup quarterback next year. Sorry, he's gone.
Okay, so Chase Daniel is an easy one. Who else?
Yeah, Jesse James, the tight end, is overpaid. He's not. He just hasn't worked out. So that's another one that's easy to point to.
How much do they say they're about?
That is about $5 million.
Okay, and so the dead cap number isn't that bad?
No, it's not.
Okay.
They're going to have to eat something, but they will get more out of it than they would in paying a below average tight end to be your number 2 tight end, which they've done for the last 2 years. They're fine there. So a guy like Desmond Trufant can go away. There's some younger players, a guy like Will Harris, their 3rd round pick from a couple of years ago, who just hasn't worked out. I think he's probably going to be sent packing. There's Halapoulivaati Vaitai is overpaid. They are hopeful that he can come back, and everything that we've heard is that they are bullish on his potential. But he makes a heck of a lot. He's making $9.5 million this year. That's a lot to pay your number 6 offensive lineman. So we'll see what happens with that.
Maybe they could restructure his contract.
Yeah, and that's certainly possible. They have that ability. Mike Disner, who's the guy who is their salary cap guy, is a very well respected around the league, young up and coming executive. He did a very good job in manipulating the cap in the past. He is still around. He was a priority keep for the organization. I think he's capable hands to handle those things. But as of now, let's say they want to do something with Kenny Golladay, who is a scheduled free agent, who turned down contract extensions last summer from them that made sense for the team, and probably after his injury-prone year, he would probably like that offer again if he could get it over. They do not have the current cap room to franchise tag him if they want to do that. I don't believe that they're going to do that anyways, but there are people out there who will insist that, you can tag and trade him. Well, now they technically can't until they cut some people. So it's taking a few options off the board there.
Okay. As far as we were talking about the draft strategy, so this is another reason why I like it, is that, and this doesn't have to be about right now a top 10 pick, moving up from 7 and forward. This could be about what I think it should be about, and that is maybe you use one of those picks in order to pick up a couple of more picks in this draft. It could be a second, a third, whatever, second, a third, a fifth, and we'll give you a 2023 first. Something like that, because right now the Lions, with the 3rd round pick, you're up to 6 now, correct?
Yes, okay. That's right.
So you would still want probably 3 or 4 more picks, I would think.
Yes, and they will certainly have the ability to flip one of those 20. They have 2 first-round picks in 2022 and 2023. They can flip one of those for a second and a third this year.
Something like that.
That's certainly possible. Yeah, absolutely. If you find a guy that you want to buy in on, let's say Minnesota wide receiver Rashad Bateman is there at number 35 or 36, somewhere there, you can say, hey, here's the first next year. Give us that and give us back. Maybe give us back your top of the 4th round pick, because that's probably about the right value. I think there are teams that would do that, and that's a way that you can build your roster now.
Yep.
And turn those future draft picks into something that you can use in 2021 based on Brad Holmes' history and the way that the Rams have dealt first-round picks. Remember, Goff was their last first-round pick, and they don't have another one until 2024. It's safe to say that it's safe to say that the Lions will not be averse to offering picks for players. I think that's something that Brad Holmes comes from, and that's also something that in the past the Lions haven't been shy about doing either. If they see somebody that they want, they will go out and target it.
Okay, so where are the Rams picking in the first round? Well, actually, next year, because we're not talking about this year's pick. So we're probably going to be thinking about a Ram team.
I would hope for their sake that they win a playoff game, if not multiple playoff games.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to. I mean, that's
if not, they're in a lot of trouble.
well, look. I mean, and we said this. We actually, I was talking to Jake Arthur, who works with the Colts.
Yep.
I
know Jake well.
About the possibility of Stafford, and Jake talked about and said, "Look, I think he's an elite quarterback," and he said it thinking that I wasn't going to agree with him, and I did. I said, "Jake, I agree with you. I think if he's put in the right situation with the right team, and he can stay healthy, I think he's going to show people that he's a lot better than people think, because it's very hard to tell when you're on a losing team how good a particular player is." I agree. I think Matthew Stafford is a Lion with all of that traded capital. He's there. He's with the Rams now to win a Super Bowl. And anything less than winning a Super Bowl next year or the year after is a failure. That's why Stafford's there, to win a Super Bowl in the next year or two.
Totally agree. And I'll tell you, most Lions fans wouldn't be upset to see him do it. And myself included, I want to see him win. I get so tired of the quarterback wins crowd and the people, Stafford can't win a big game on his own. He's all there are some in the Detroit media who have coined him Stat Padford. I want those people to be shut up. So I'm going to root for Matthew Stafford to succeed with the Rams, even if it costs the Lions a little bit of draft position. He deserves that. He was a great player in Detroit, and I wish him nothing but the best. And the Rams have some other players that I happen to have liked over the years. I'm a huge Andrew Whitworth fan. I'd love to see him get a title too. So, I'm not going to root for him, but it would be nice to see them be successful, even if it does hurt the Lions in the long run.
Yeah, that's true. But you got to admit, it's probably going to hurt the Lions anyway, because barring an injury to Stafford, they're going to be a pretty good football team. So
I would assume that the Los Angeles Rams will be good, and that their picks will be in the 20s. Yes. So you're looking at having wherever the Lions finish, and I think just looking at the team that they got now, if Jared Goff is the good Jared Goff, the guy who was a legitimate Pro Bowler in 2017, 2018, this team could get out of last place in the NFC North, but I still don't think they're a playoff team. We obviously have to see what else they build in, but as of right now, they're still looking up. They're at the ground floor of a rebuild. Now, Goff coming in gives them, maybe it starts them on the mezzanine level instead of the basement, but they still got a long way to go to get up with the rest of the teams in that division.
Okay. How about we hear that Stafford did not want to go to New England?
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense, though. It kind of does.
Yes, and that is not a Bill Belichick thing. That is a Matt Patricia thing.
Yeah.
That's you're not going to hear many Lions players who were around for the last 3 years ever say anything positive about Matt Patricia, and I'll probably just leave it at that.
Okay. And did you think that there were, from the rumors you heard, were there some other potential trades that you would have been okay with?
I would have been okay with Washington giving their first this year and one of their defensive linemen, which was, there were a lot of different rumors coming out of Washington. Some were a first and a third, some were a first and a player. Some had some combination of that. I would have been okay with that. Washington has the GM Martin Mayhew, who drafted Matthew Stafford in Detroit, number 1 overall. He's starting anew there. I would have been fine with that, although their pick, I believe they have the number 19 pick as the lowest seeded team in the playoffs this year, but that's not bad. It's a top 20 pick. The Colts apparently never offered the number 21 pick, so I think that one was out.
Oh, yeah.
An interesting one was San Francisco I do prefer. I think that Jared Goff is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's certainly healthier, and that's a big thing for me. I don't want to have an injured quarterback that I don't really trust. So I'm better with that deal than that one. And the only other one that really came out was an interesting one. The Chicago Bears offered a first round pick this year and a future. We haven't heard exactly, but the rumors are that they offered second round picks, multiple second round picks. So that's an interesting one. Keeping Matthew Stafford out of the division is probably a very good idea.
Yeah.
But it tells you where the Bears are at in terms of their quest to upgrade quarterbacks, that they would give those resources within the division to try to get Matthew Stafford. So it tells you that a team that's very familiar with him, and by the way, beats him consistently. The Lions have really struggled against the Bears lately. That they were that enamored with him. I think that gives you a good idea of where the league is at on Matthew Stafford.
So there wasn't. I heard something about Carolina.
Carolina,
that didn't make any sense to me. That Carolina would have given up their top 10 pick.
Yeah, and it's right next to where the Lions are picking.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one either. That's and again, then if you're the Lions, you have two picks right in a row like that.
Which would have been interesting, yes.
You're almost beholden then to take a quarterback, and
Absolutely.
whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure that I like that situation. So I'm very happy with what they got. The fact that they have 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years.
I think that's great.
That's I'm trying to frame it for Lions fans. You've got 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years. It was an NBA style trade. I like that the NFL is moving that direction. I think this is something that more teams should explore for both the Rams and the Lions standpoint. So I'm happy with that part of it too, as more of a league wide thing.
Well, Deshaun Watson could be next,
and that I like the table being set for that. It sets. My goodness, as you know, I like Matthew Stafford a lot. Deshaun Watson is he's on a different plane at his age with his abilities. The NFL's leading passer. If you're getting 2 number ones and a number 3 and a starting quarterback for Matthew Stafford, I think you can up at least a couple of players and or first round picks for Deshaun Watson. That's
well, I'll be honest with that. I thought that, and as a Jet fan, I thought giving up 3 first round draft picks for Deshaun Watson as the starting point, but also a realistic starting point. Like, okay, now we don't have to do much here, but I don't want to. I don't want to hear Houston like being upset with that offer. It's like, look, if you're not happy with me offering you 3 first round draft picks, then I'm hanging up the phone before you are. So I think 3 because especially with a team like the Jets, they have the additional first rounders, so they could afford. They'll still end up with a first round draft pick in the next 2 years because they have the draft capital to make that type of deal. So I think that that's well deserving for Watson. And now, like you said, what we just saw with the Stafford deal, I don't think we're much further along than, hey, 3 first round draft picks and then change.
And one of those picks is your number 2 overall pick, and that gets them a guy like Justin Fields or a guy like Zach Wilson, whoever their regime might choose, to instantly replace Watson. Again, they're at the ground floor of a rebuild as well. It looks like J.J. Watt's going to be gone. That's a great way to kickstart an overhaul of your team down there too.
So we'll see if that happens. It looks like it's going to happen. Now, where he goes, who knows? I get the feeling it's the Dolphins or the Jets because they have the most to offer.
My money would be on the Dolphins, and it's very, very interesting that they are ready to give up on Tua Tagovailoa. Now, obviously, trading for Deshaun Watson, you don't need him, but this was a guy that was so coveted a year ago, and they didn't handle it well, and I don't think he handled it all that well either. It's a weird situation.
Well, we'll definitely stay tuned for that, but like you said, it does make it more fun for fans to know that we can have these types of trades, which just a few years ago never happened in the NFL.
No, not at all. I love it. I love that it's becoming more like the NBA. I'm a big NBA junkie, so it's nice to see. I went crazy with the multi-team trade that they had this year. That's the next thing that's coming is the 3-team trades where you get another to come in and absorb a contract that you don't want or something like that. Well, the NFL isn't there yet, but it's coming.
Yeah. Well, what I don't want the NFL doing is copying the NBA's draft production, which is just awful. When you when you think you have a player, and then it winds up being an hour later that you realize, nope, you didn't get that guy because he was traded. So now it's this guy and
Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing?
Trade for picks before the draft.
It's just
or before the players announced.
Their rules of
Yeah,
why they can't do it. It's just so archaic. Like, come on.
Wackadoodle.
So, but NFL, they're doing it right. And look, it's just the beginning for the Detroit Lions. I think it's just like I know how it feels as a Jet fan to have all this extra draft capital. It's exciting. You have new front office, coach, and all of that. So we're kind of simpatico when it comes to where we are as fans with franchises that have struggled for a long time. And this, I think, does show everything that we talked about on Friday, which is this is, to me, is proof that the Lions have a smart foundation. They're making the right decisions. And I really think this is a great way to kickstart it.
Totally agree, and I think most fans are really coming around to that now. There is an excitement, there is a realization that team's probably not going to be very good this year, but also that's probably a necessary evil because they weren't going to be good with Matthew Stafford either.
That's true.
And now they have moved on, and brighter days are ahead. It gives your GM a chance to prove that he was right on Jared Goff, that the issues that Goff had in Los Angeles were more coach quarterback dynamic related than just the quarterback not being all that good. I like that kind of motivation. I'm rooting for Jared Goff to prove that. It would be great. That would resolve a lot of issues in Detroit right away. You can't count on that though, but there's a lot of options now.
And we're gonna.
It's not something we've had in Detroit for a while.
And we'll talk more about that in the next month or two when we talk again. Look forward to doing that because again, there's free agency, there's the draft, so there's a lot to discuss with you, Jeff, and of course our listeners. They can go to the Detroit Lions podcast. That's the channel on YouTube, and they can of course check you out at the Lions Wire. Actually, lionswire.usatoday.com. It's right there on the screen at the Lions Wire. That is your Twitter handle as well, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Jeff, I appreciate it. Thanks for getting this over with as quick as possible. I really appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to talking to you again real soon.
It's not often we get Lions breaking news, so we got to milk it while
Take
we can.
advantage.
Thanks, man.
Jeff.